I want to do a video on how to convert a lawn or wood chip system into a soil health management system in Florida on sand for growing tropical fruit trees. High dollar tropical fruit trees. Fruit. And get fruit, because you want your fruit trees to produce fruit. So the first thing to do if you have a lawn under your trees is to just stop mowing it. If you want it to look tidy around the edges, you could mow the edges, like around the fence perimeter line, so that you can walk around it, or trails through it. But you don't want to mow more than 30% of your lawn. So all your little trails that you mow, and you don't want it all in one area, so not around just one group of trees. So you spread it around, 30% mowed if you have to do 30%. I personally prefer just foot trails, but I like my mowed 5-foot wide path from the front of my property to the back of my property. It's beautiful. So I understand it. But then when you grow the grass, or you stop, if you have wood chips. Let me talk about wood chips for a second, because it seems like people just think wood chips is the silver bullet to organic gardening. It's not in Florida. And soil health and organic principles are all being proven to be superior to the chemical farming mode because of molecular biology. So the wood chips, if you use them to kill, you don't want to remove anything. You want to manage the height of it. So if there's like grass smothering your seedling tree, sure, you want to like cut that around there, you know, not remove it, but just like make it so it's not falling on your tree. Same goes with larger plants, and you just have to use a chainsaw. It's managing height. It's like syntropic agriculture. So you stop with the wood chips. You want your system to build soil. Adding compost is not building soil, people. It helps build soil if you use the right compost, but it's not building soil. Building soil is done with living roots. It's the only way it happens. So when you put your wood chips down, that's a lot of surface space on the wood. I mean, I like wood chips, but I would throw them in here if I had them, like just throw them in here. But they would land on top of the grass. They wouldn't. I mean, if I had some wood chips, that's what I'd do, but I don't have any wood chips. I use logs. All the surface space on the wood chips just is more oxidation. If you have logs, you want like a reducer. So inside a log where there's no air and less surface space than wood chips, because all those surface, it's like the same logic that they use with biochar. It's got all those surfaces. So it turns out for growing tropical fruit trees, you want the biology that reduces the carbon and the oxygen kills that biology. So if you have wood chips rather than a log, all that surface is oxidizing carbon, whereas inside the logs, it is hopefully, unless you've been using fungicides, is inoculated with saprophytic fungi inside the log. So it breaks down from inside. And then that reduced carbon that fungi produces, not the oxidizing carbon breakdown, has the ability, twice the ability to make molecule chains that are plant enablers. So they help grow plants. Provides a perfect environment for a plant. You don't want the molecules that don't link up. I mean, you want them, but for growing trees, building soil, you need the reduced form of carbon that you get from logs, not wood chips. Plus wood chips, the way they use them, a little is good, so they put on, I mean, I've heard of 4 feet, but sure, eventually you'll have good soil, but why not just kick your living roots into high gear? Because those are who builds the soil. So if you have them already, if you have the lawn already, just leave everything there. Don't add anything, or don't remove anything. Just observe it, and then inventory the species that start growing in your lawn. So that takes care of like the lawn, growing the grass out, takes care of like keeping the soil covered. It provides a living root, and it's a habitat for life. Each piece of plant, every inch is a habitat for a different form of life. And all these little plants in here, the diversity of plants that you have in your system are the micronutrients that the reducing microbiology will help process from carbon into a piece of soil and create soil aggregates. The perfect solution for growing plants. So you don't have to worry about getting all the micronutrients, the macronutrients. We got them here in Florida, people. You don't need calcium, please. That's only if you're using salt-based fertilizers, because it's the only way to fix your issues you create with your salt-based fertilizers. Yeah, so this little tree, part of it froze, you know, because we got 31 degrees, but part of it has mangoes, a lot of mangoes. All this is freeze damage. It was a nasty 31 degrees. So anyway, that's how you start to develop it. Then while you're growing your grass out, you can start doing this as soon as you stop mowing your grass. Start dragging your logs, your twigs, your leaves, and scattering them around your property onto the living cover you're growing, your cover crop, your orchard floor covered crop. And that one doesn't look very good. Yeah, so scatter logs about, and you gotta leave all the brown stuff. I know people don't like it, they think it's dirty, but that's energy and food for your microbes. You can't have soil health without it. You can't grow organic in Florida without it. Or, you know, you aren't going to be successful at it. You can't grow organic or say you're organic and have wood chips, mulch, and or mowed lawn. It's just not possible to be successful at it. I've been doing this, growing tropical fruit trees continuously in Florida for 14 years, and I've been growing mangoes continuously at 2 locations for 10 years. So I practice, and I didn't practice on 1 or 2 trees. I have 300 mango trees here. I do know that if you have if I had a mowed lawn that I planted mangoes in and never watered, and they grew, but they never fruited for 9 years. Zill's mangoes. Now it's on the water, so it stays warm. It doesn't freeze there. And, but this past year, I decided to let the grass grow there because it took me a while to figure out this system completely. And I applied, it's 2.5 acres. I applied a 5-gallon bucket of fermented compost. That's your high-end fertilizer, people, and biologicals. There's nothing better for growing tropical fruit trees and building soil than fermented compost. The Johnson-Su system, look it up. It works. I modify ours because I don't like using all that plastic, and I don't have to add worms, and I like it being on the ground, but it's comparable. So your high-end fertilizer, the reason the fermented compost is the best compost, you don't want to use chicken manure. It's too high in nitrogen. You got to check like all your logs. Unfortunately, part of being a successful grower is to know science, and it's pretty complicated, the molecular biological system. It's complicated. So you have to know how much nitrogen is in each one of your inputs. You don't have to worry about wood and trees and leaves or any plant material, but you have to worry about manures or anything, manures. So chicken manure for mangoes is too high in nitrogen. And if you're not mixing it in the soil and you have a lawn, most of it gets into the air by oxidizing microbiology, and because it's just like that's what is attracted to high nitrogen materials sitting in open air. So you're not going to get the soil building benefits, and you aren't going to get any fruit on mangoes, or very little fruit. The fermented compost, they say fermented, it's just carbon that's been processed like inside a worm, so without oxygen, or very little oxygen. So it's a compost pile that isn't turned, and it's left for a year. I'm not talking about a pile of wood chips. I'm talking about a real compost pile that you have to measure the amount of carbon and nitrogen going into the system. So you have to know how much nitrogen is in each product you use inside your compost pile and figure it out. That's how you do it. There's no other way. It's pretty easy. Just go on the internet and look it up. How much nitrogen is in cow manure? How much nitrogen is in chicken manure? How much nitrogen is in hay? There's like tables for it that all shows. And then you can figure it out by pounds. So you can figure out your carbon to nitrogen ratio of your compost. But the non-oxidizing microbiology in the unturned compost, because the turned one attracts all the oxygen loving. This is for tropical fruit trees, for tree crops. It's the long game. So you want the low nitrogen stuff that's aged. So you have to build this living system up. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes a long time. I mean, this took about 2 years before it switched on. But stuff you can do to your lawn while you're adding logs and carbon. Most important thing is the plant. You can start adding plants, different plants into the system. Ginger, I found, works really good planted directly adjacent to mangoes and other fruit trees, most of them, all of them that I've seen it with. In fact, the only reason why I haven't done it to all of them is because I just haven't had enough time. But I'm working on it. I try to just plant plants now. My goal is 100 plants a day to plant, but I never get there. I got to 4 bananas yesterday. Oh, almost killed me. But anyway, so just plant plants in it. Plant plants adjacent to right in your lawn. Plant them right in your lawn. Don't remove grass. Try to remove as little grass as possible. Disturb as little as possible. If your lawn is compacted, you will know, because it won't grow. It'll stay short. And if that's the case, you've got to take a pitchfork or something that pokes holes down in there and then spray it with a fermented compost tea, or something you can do right away on your mowed lawn to speed up the life, because that's what you're doing. You're creating life, and you're creating dead microbiology is enzymes, plant enabling enzymes, to ensure that your tropical fruit trees grow and fruit. Biological systems have never been trialed in Florida that I know of, and not this type of system. And today's modern agriculture only gets 15% production is the average, I believe, from the crops they grow. So I see that it works. It's pretty much free, and it works really good in Florida. You can't do this in California or Arizona, because you need to use wood chips. If you have lots of exposed dirt where nothing will grow, you have to keep that covered. So if you have a lawn under your fruit trees and the sand, you could see white sand, it would be a good idea to buy some hay. Know where the hay comes from. Make sure that there's no chemicals sprayed on it. All you have to do is ask the people that sell it, the manager. Make sure you get a real answer, not a "I don't know" answer, because it does make a difference. And spread it over your sandy areas. And then throw earthworm castings on that. Throw earthworm castings. Earthworm castings are excellent if you don't have manure. They're real good. This is a healthy natural system. This is in Florida. It works. It really works. It's kind of common sense. Most of it's just common sense stuff. But it's been proven. The information's out there now. You can't say it's a hoax. So if you care about Florida at all, or your area where you live, your sociobiome of the earth, then you're going to switch back to this ancient indigenous method. And that's how you do it.